Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this session, Data Visualization for Women's Safety. My name is Elsa Marie De Silva, and I'm the founder of Red Dot Foundation. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes till everyone comes in. But please take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat section. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and don't forget to mute yourself because we are recording this and background noise can be a bit distracting. So use the chat section because we have many people here from Ireland and from India, and we'd love to know where you're from. And if there are other countries as well, we want to know who you are and where you're from. So please feel free to use the chat section to introduce yourself and your organization. So we are waiting for people to come in because there's still many in the waiting room. So I can see people from Dublin, Bangalore, Chennai. We have, it's moving really quickly. So I'm trying to keep up. So welcome Sister Maureen from Ireland. We have lots of students from UCD. Oh, there's a presentation sister from Canada as well. Oh, hi Sahil. Hi Yukti. Great. Lovely to meet all of you. So once again, good evening, everyone. My name is Elsa Marie De Silva, and I'm really pleased to welcome you to the Data Visualization for Women's Safety event. This event is in two parts. So the first hour is for the public, and then we have a second hour only for students who are going through our data visualization challenge. So at the end of the hour, we'll ask all the students to raise their hands so we know who they are, and we'll proceed with them from there. But just to give you a little bit of background, my organization, Red Dot Foundation, is very pleased to host this data visualization challenge with the Consulate General of Ireland in Mumbai. And it's with university students in India and Ireland. And we are also very pleased to have the University College of Dublin and Education in Ireland as knowledge and outreach partners. So as you know, sexual and gender-based violence is a global pandemic which affects 1 in 3 women on an average at least once in their lifetime. But in India, this number seems to be much higher. And that's one of the reasons why we launched Safe City, a crowd map, to document these stories and make it visible so that we can do something about it. Now, the National Crime Research Bureau statistics indicate that there is a rape somewhere in India every 18 minutes. And yet these incidents are highly underreported because of the shame and taboo associated with it. The survivor is fearful of bringing shame to herself and her family. And by having such data challenges and conversations around these topics, we can hope to break the silence around the issue. So why are we doing this data challenge? It is to encourage youth to look at the data and understand patterns and trends emerging that could either point to contributing factors or identify correlated features that need to be challenged and recommend possible solutions. So through this challenge, which starts today, actually it starts on the 1st of February. Today is just the introductory session. We will be looking for compelling data visualizations that highlight the problem and point to practical solutions to address them. During the 1st of February till the 21st of February, students will attend 3 master classes and have access to our team as well as the team from UCD to fine-tune their ideas. And we hope that they will have an opportunity to create solutions for safe spaces to prevent the violence against women and girls. They will learn by doing through the master classes and the mentorship, and the opportunity to collaborate across borders, because we have made teams of Indian and Irish students, and there is an intercultural element to this. So without further ado, I'm going to begin the session. So please, for those who've already come in and haven't introduced themselves, please do so in the chat section. As I explained, this is the first half of the program. The first half is for the public. And we have apologies from Miss Allison Riley, the Deputy Consul General of the Consulate General of Ireland in Mumbai. There has been an emergency, so she cannot make it. And she sends her best regards. But she will join the students at a future session. We also have another final session on the 4th of March. We will send you the details later. Today, we are going to have a moderated discussion. So we have Professor Eleni Mangina from the University College of Dublin. We have Mr. Harish Iyer, who is the founder of the Jimmy Foundation and the head of diversity and inclusion at Axis Bank. We have Dr. Despina Aphrodite Milaki, who's the NGO representative at the United Nations International Presentation Association. We have Ms. Michelle D'Souza, ICT consultant with Sneha. It's a wonderful NGO in Mumbai. Ms. Rohini Kadam, who is the lead campaigner and facilitator for Right to Pee at the Koro Community Youth Collective, and I will be moderating this session. So I'm going to first invite Professor Eleni, but before I invite Professor Eleni, what's the point of this discussion? So we are hosting this data visualization challenge for the students, and we want to, through this panel discussion, highlight the importance of how data can aid grassroots organizations on the ground in going deeper into the topic of sexual and gender-based violence, but also informing their solutions in a very practical manner. So what you're going to co-create over the next 3 weeks is not an exercise just in name, but it's a very important exercise that will help other organizations, certainly mine, in putting forward, these solutions that you are going to co-create. Now, the co-creation process will lead to many different visualizations, and we have an excellent masterclass by Professor Eleni on the 4th, so don't miss that. And visualizations can be of many types. There's graphs and charts, there's also maps, there's media analysis, there's also pictorial depictions, video reels, etc. So there's a lot of creativity and innovation that you can use for your final submissions. We will also have a very esteemed jury panel that will look at it and come up with the top 3 solutions for which there are cash prizes. So our jury members are Reena Dayal, who's the board chair of Quantum Ecosystems and Technology Council of India, Ritu David, who's the founder of the Data Duck, Kavita Riali, who's the principal program manager of tech at Microsoft, Swati Mohapatra, who's with UNICEF, Afreen Siddiqui at UNDP, Bhanu Prasad MN, who's a coach for impact innovation at TCS Foundation, Gautam Singhal, who's the senior superintendent of police for the Punjab Police, Rakesh Arya, who's the deputy inspector general of police with the Haryana Police. There's Professor Eleni, and we have an Irish nonprofit and also a couple of Irish companies that will be part of it. So you see, there's a lot of interest in what you're going to co-create. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Professor Eleni to first share a little bit about herself and her work, and to tell us how data visualizations can help tell a story and make it engaging for a larger audience to engage on the issue. Over to you, Professor Eleni.
Thank you, Elsa Marie. First of all, thank you for the introduction, and I would like to personally thank the Red Dot Foundation for the organization of this data challenge, the support from the Consulate General of Ireland in Mumbai, and Education in Ireland, and of course, Safe City. I am one of the academic staff members in UCD, in School of Computer Science, but I'm also the Vice Principal Global for College of Science, which entails 7 different schools. But in this data science challenge, it will be more the School of Computer Science involved in the activities. Now, in terms of my background, I am in UCD since 2002. And some of the students, I can recognize even some names in the list, they know me through the module at the master's course in computer science as I teach the advanced data structures in Java. Now, in terms of the data visualization and what you would expect to get on the 4th of February, we have 2 of our staff members, Professor Liliana Pasquale and Professor Rem Collier, and they will deliver the masterclass on data analytics, and I will be present too. Now, what we plan for this class is to cover the topics in data analytics and also illustrate the role of data analytics in uncovering insights about societal issues. I will give you an example because I am an advocate for digital humanitarian applications. So back around 6 years ago, we worked with the Indian Red Cross and we made a mobile app for tuberculosis assistance in Punjab area. And it was a very good application. Now, coming as a female and as a mother of 3 kids, one of them is a daughter, this subject of the data challenge is very close to my heart. And I'm delighted to be part of this panel and involved actively in the data analysis and visualization. Now, the masterclass on the 4th of February will involve lightning talks about the cultural analytics, data feminism, and data protection for vulnerable groups. Now, the second section of this class will involve an introduction to data analytics, where the students will learn and have a practical experience on how to process and analyze data. Also, the fundamentals of pandas data frames and series will be covered in this class, along with how to plot the different functions in order to generate the graphs. Now, a little bit about data science for those that don't have the computer science background or from the other disciplines. In terms of data science, this is actually an interdisciplinary field. So we have mathematicians, statisticians, computer scientists, social scientists, database administrators, data engineers, graphic designers. We have graphic user interface experts, storytellers, which is very important, researchers, and of course, business administrators as well. But as machine learning and artificial intelligence has evolved and it is advancing year on year, we also need the philosophers and the ethicists to be included in this process as well. We know that the data science is powerful, but it needs to be used correctly in order to aim for 2 tasks: to understand the world, but to understand it in an objective way, because we're based on data, and also to have the ability as an interdisciplinary field in data science to utilize this knowledge acquisition phase and the understanding in order to make informed decisions. And science is actually, so the story in data science is actually following different steps. We collect the data, we clean the data, we analyze them, and we utilize them. Now, utilization of these different forms of data can take place in our daily life in many cases, and I'm sure everybody has experienced this. We have seen the data that are collected from social media, for example, or from search engines to optimize the search results. Now, this type of data science, it's actually utilizing data to make revenue. But there is another group of data science applications that are there to utilize the data for social impact. And this is part of our own data challenge. I will give you a couple of examples. Those familiar with Kaggle, for example, they're using data to predict the poverty levels and to identify where there is the highest need for social welfare assistance. Then we have in Africa, the Code for Africa. Then they're using data science to create a tool that helps the Kenyan citizens to show up to the ballot box so that they're ready to vote. Another example is the data kind, and they have data science to create paths out of homelessness. So there is a distinct difference between the applications for revenue and the applications for social impact. Now, another question I've been asked many times within the data analytics, what's the key for success? And the key is always the affordance of the data. So we need to have open data, open source data. Now, open data is actually the data that can be freely used, reused, and redistributed by anyone. So we need to be able to collect the data in order to make informed decisions. Now, once we have the data, we analyze and we visualize. So it's very, very important when we get the open data to start making informed decisions. And let's go and move on to the data visualization. That's something that the students will be working on. Just think about it, that with a picture, we know a picture is worth 1,000 words. Then just imagine that the data visualization itself, it's actually worth 10 times that. Because no matter what kind of content you're collecting in data, the best way to prove a point is through this data analysis. So just looking at the tables packed with the numbers, you might not see the bigger picture, but with data visualization, we can actually communicate essential information for the subject as those tables, just in a more in a lay manner, so that everybody can understand what is the outcome of the analysis. So in this data challenge and within the session that will be provided from computer science in UCD, you will be able to see how we can transform information and data provided into visual format, so we can all understand it. So the visual content is actually responsible for 93% of our human communication, and that's based on the statistics that we have. Also, don't forget that our brains comprehend images 60,000 times faster than text. The content pieces that include images as well, they earn around 94% more views. And also when we have infographics, they generate 12% more traffic in comparison with the text content online. So that's to give you a little bit of background of why data visualization is important. And the main thing is that you lower the audience burden when it comes to understanding the information and the key takeaways. So I must say I'm looking forward to seeing the results of this data challenge, to see what our students are going to produce from the data provided. And all the best to everybody for the challenge. Elsa Marie, would you like me to give a couple of examples from my own research and where data analytics has been used?
Yes, if you want to, please feel free right now.
I'm just concerned about the time. I don't want to be taking too much time from the other presenters, but I can give you a couple of examples and I will put some links here on the chat. I'm working closely with the Energy Institute in UCD, and we want, for example, to visualize and to predict the energy flexibility of buildings. So data-driven predictive control to unlock the building energy efficiency and energy flexibility is very important. The other work that we have done is when we employ data-driven approaches to optimize the urban scale energy retrofit decisions for residential buildings. So when people, for example, do not use alternative energy resources and they want to upgrade their house to solar panels, for example, then they will need to make informed decisions, and data analytics can help them understand which are the challenges that they face with the current state of the household, and then take decisions on how to upgrade it. Another work that we have done is using data analytics for sustainable global supply chains, and we reviewed data from the European statistics, where we could see the transport of the goods within Europe, how much the transportation sector has contributed to the emissions in the environment, which is highly relevant with our challenge right now worldwide with the climate change. Another issue, which is another project which is actually very relevant with this challenge. I'm also the chair of the Athena Swan application for School of Computer Science, and we are analyzing the gender analytics in my school and in comparison with other schools abroad, worldwide, and in Europe. Now, according to the World Forum Global Gender Gap Report, I know it doesn't have to do with safety, but it's more on the gender balance analysis. At the current rate that we are worldwide, it's going to take almost 217 years for the world to achieve gender parity. So if we use data analytics, we could maybe accelerate this process. And what we have done in my school in order to evaluate the gender equality level in terms of all staff and students, we're monitoring, we're collecting data year on year, we collect questionnaires, replies from students and staff, and we evaluate the status, and we take informed decisions about our gender equality status in my school and in the college eventually. So I feel confident based on different applications that the more people that understand the data analytics and understand how to use it ethically and responsibly, and ethics is a big issue at the moment, especially with the data protection and where do our personal data lie to, and whether we give access to other organizations to use them. So the more people that understand the process and are aware of the ethically approved processes and applications, then the greater our chances to live in a world that is equal. And of course, we will have the data to prove it. So I'm looking forward to seeing in this data challenge how safe is it for women and within the areas that the data are provided. So thank you very much for the opportunity. If you have any questions, let me know. I will post in the chat now all the relevant work we have done. Thank you, Elsa Marie.
Thank you, Eleni, for that opening remarks. In a way, you kind of, touched on so many points. So first of all, you spoke about the gender gap index, and last year, India slipped 28 points. We are now 140 out of 156 countries. So we are pretty much at the bottom, and it's going to take a lot of effort from all sides to move us up that list. I don't particularly like seeing my country at the bottom of the list. You spoke about data ethics and privacy and how do you collect the data. And we have a lovely session on the 1st on Safe City, but I've invited our tech partner to come and talk about how do you build empathetic tech and how do you, keep the user at the center of what you're building, or that applies even for the data visualization. You spoke about the data visualization being very powerful. And I do believe that nowadays where attention spans are really short, visualization can grab attention, lure people to, lure is can be seen as a negative word, but attract people to work on that problem, and I would like to say, attracted 96 young people for this data challenge, out of which 38 are from Ireland. You also spoke about sensitivity and understanding the context. And, I think data visualization, data literacy, data analysis is going to be a 21st century skill. And it's not confined to somebody who's only in a particular discipline. And we are so glad that we have students from history, from social sciences, from journalism, from English literature, apart from IT, engineering, and the pure sciences as part of this challenge. And we've tried our best to distribute them in multidisciplinary teams so that everybody brings their expertise to the table and comes up with a solution that is holistic. So I'm going to stop here. And, I hope you're all attracted to the session on the 4th. So do come on 4th February and hear firsthand from Professor Eleni and her colleagues, because you can then ask her questions directly during that session. But I'm now going to turn to Dr. Despina from IPA. Can you share a little bit about your work? Because you work not only in Ireland, but you work in 20 different countries. When we talk about sexual violence, it's different in every context. So, data can certainly help give further insights and help in the advocacy. And you're particularly, you have a very important role at the UN, presenting everybody's ideas and pushing the agenda over there, getting policymakers to pay attention to it. So over to you, Despina, and we'd love to hear how you think about this issue.
Thank you so much, Elsa, for inviting me, and thank you for your kind words. Let me try and share my screen. Okay, can you see that? I suppose yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I'm very happy to join all of you here today. As Elsa mentioned, I am Despina. I am the main representative for the International Representation Association, which is a network of Catholic religious congregations and friends who work in 20 countries across the world. We are also an NGO, a non-governmental organization accredited to the UN Economic and Social Council. And this global community is key to ensuring that justice is served on the ground. The presentation people and sisters respond to the cry of earth and to people made poor by embracing the Sustainable Development Goals in a human rights framework, addressing the issues of women and children, care of the earth and indigenous peoples as relevant to our local regions. Our chosen UN advocacy focus is elimination of violence against women and children. We believe having a specific advocacy focus help us sharpen our presence and role at the UN and achieve a greater impact at a global scale. In this framework, every year here at the UN, we actively engage in the 16 Days of Activism, an international campaign that kicks off on November 25th, the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. We use reliable data to inform evidence-based advocacy points and ask for an intensification of efforts to eliminate all forms of gender-based violence. We submit written statements for both the UN Commission on the Status of Women and the UN Commission for Social Development, both focusing on the intersections of gender-based violence with various aspects of each priority theme every year. Professor Eleni earlier mentioned something, a lot about data, very useful information. She talked about the gender gap. Policymakers, in order to ask from them, here at the UN to implement a decision or to follow a policy, you have to present reliable data. Also the use of data for advocacy or awareness raising may encourage other people to come forth and talk as well. We hold webinars on various aspects of gender-based violence. joined by distinguished speakers like ambassadors, high-ranking national officials, UN officers, civil society leaders, and academia, as well as gender-based violence survivors. We want to bring everyone on the table, stakeholders from different perspectives and fields, and promote in this way our advocacy work at the international, at the UN level. We in the IPA consider formal and informal education as a powerful tool, not only in responding to and advocating against violence, but also in dismantling gender stereotypes, hence preventing violence from occurring before it even starts. With that in mind, we have developed this booklet as a guiding document which provides information and tools that can be used by anyone who works on the elimination of violence. We engage our presentation people in many ways. One of these ways is through webinars at the global level, in which we raise awareness, inspire and empower our people to build our own capacity. At the grassroots level, we raise awareness through planned justice simulation activities pertaining to violence. Our people also share information through survey data on how violence manifests in their local contexts. We continue to seek to improve access to learning for all people, particularly youth in primary, secondary, and third level institutions, focusing on reducing bias against women and promoting gender equality. We partner with local organizations and networks to provide a variety of support to women and children impacted by violence. We continue to partner with organizations at the local level to provide training and workshops on how to create a safe environment for women. Following our commitment to build upon partnerships, we have initiated since last December a new partnership with the Red Dot Foundation on the Safe City project. Ireland actually is our first IPA country that engages in Safe City. By strengthening our collaboration and creating awareness, we build a stronger future for all women and children in Ireland and in other IPA countries that will follow in the future, because we think that alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. Last but not least, we are currently conducting a research on gender stereotypes and domestic violence. This project aims to identify gender stereotypes in three countries, the US, India, and Zimbabwe, and more specifically how certain gender stereotypes shape perceptions, attitudes, and experiences of domestic violence. Ultimately, these aims are to further develop, and using the data the findings that we will collect from the research, is important to further develop and support the already existing IPA advocacy plan. Closing my presentation, I will urge you to think globally but act locally, and I'm free to be reached out and address any question that you might have, or any further information that you would like to know. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Despina. And you raised many important points as well. So I like that, think globally, act locally. And that's really also the Safe City data. It's hyperlocal. So whilst it's a global platform, you can zoom in right up to the street level and check out what's going on over there. Of course, we have the largest data set for India, followed by Kenya and Cameroon and other countries. We are looking to increase the number of reports in Ireland. So all the Irish students over here, please look at our app. The first session on the 1st of February is about Safe City, where I'll explain, what the app does, how you can use the data in community-based interventions, or even on your college campuses to start the dialogue. Despina spoke about reducing the bias against women. And that's really critical, because unless you understand the context, the underlying context of why this violence happens, we won't be able to address it. So one is making it visible through the collection of data, but then using that data to challenge these biases and strengthen the mechanisms to prevent it and also respond to it. So I hope to see you on the 1st of February. In the meantime, if you can look at the app, it's on the web app. You can also download it on iOS and Android. I'll get the team to put it in the chat section, the links. And for everybody else watching, all the links, all the information that is being shared, we'll compile a document and send it to you after this presentation. Now we have two NGOs that we love working with. So the first one is Sneha, and I'd invite Michelle D'Souza to share a little bit about Sneha's work and also how do you use data to engage communities for change. I know you're a Safe City partner right now, but you also have done data collection extensively in the past. So over to you, Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle D'Souza, and I essentially work with the adolescence program in Sneha. Sneha is a health organization that works with women and children from vulnerable slum communities of Bombay. Monitoring and evaluation of data is at the heart of Sneha's intervention. Data is collected on smartphones using an interface developed in ComCare. So ComCare is an open source software application that runs on Android. The data is then transferred electronically through the cloud server and is processed using Tableau, which is a data visualization software. So while we do that, we also invest a lot in building the capacities of our frontline workers. We train them to not just use these technologies, but also interpret these data, because ultimately they are the ones who are on field and in touch with the community. Qualitative and quantitative research definitely complements each other. The issues faced by communities, the depth of harassment, the situations that lead to it, what are the repulsions, all these things come up when you listen to stories. And that's where qualitative data becomes important. The numbers inform the magnitude of the situation, but stories definitely give us more insights. So it's also important to conduct needs assessment to begin with. So for example, before setting up our crisis intervention within health facilities, we did a pilot study to understand the cases that are coming in. Not everyone who comes in openly tells the healthcare provider that they are victims of abuse or violence. So we observed various departments like the emergency medical services, the orthopedic department, the burns department, the forensic department, the psychiatric department, for the kind of cases that were coming in. That data we then gathered, and that data enabled us to set up a one-stop counseling center. The pilot allowed us to assess what works and what doesn't work. And then we were able to scale and then replicate that model across other hospitals like KEM and Nair Hospital. Another example, which is very close to what the Safe City app is what we do is we conduct safety audits in our community. So we gather young people from our communities in Kalwa and Dharavi. They come together, they identify safe and unsafe areas within their communities. Now, the way they do it is they take a chart paper and they map out their community. Then they plot safe and unsafe areas on these maps. Some of the more common unsafe areas identified were public toilets, dimly lit lanes, areas outside schools, crowded market areas where they were more prone to eve-teasing and groping. We then invited, in one of these sessions, we invited a senior police inspector to have a discussion on the safety audit that these young people conducted. They showed the inspector the map and the plotting of these unsafe areas. These young people were then called police mitras or police friends. They then worked closely with the police to try and reduce the incidents in these areas. The police also increased patrolling in these unsafe areas. The Safe City app is a digital version of the safety audit that we conduct at a much larger scale. The maps are ready. All that you need to do is to plot these unsafe areas and these incidents that occur. Data can also have a ripple effect. So while we're doing this in one community, kids from other communities and young people from other parts, what they did is they were encouraged to take action in their own community. Now, young people from our Kandavli site started looking at issues that were curtailing movements of girls at night. And they figured out that dimly lit streetlights were the cause. So what they did is, with the help of Sneha team, they wrote letters to the BMC, which resulted in 47 streetlights being put up in that area. And that also kind of created a lot of, when they see change happening, it kind of makes them want to do more and identify other issues that they can solve with their community. So involving participants in research gives them a sense of ownership and of the knowledge that, and the knowledge empowers them to advocate for what they feel is right. Another example is a survey we did on understanding exclusive breastfeeding, or EBF, in the community. What we realized is that the women were aware that exclusive breastfeeding is important, but when we dwelled deeper, we realized that the understanding of exclusive breastfeeding was itself faulty. So according to WHO's definition of EBF, an infant should receive only breast milk from his or her mother or a wet nurse for the first 6 months and no other solid or liquid food. But we realized that families would feed their child honey or holy water when the child is born. Now, sometimes they took EBF so seriously that they would continue it beyond 6 months and neglect complementary feeding. It is only by asking these questions and probing that we learned that the understanding is not clear. This information then enabled our team to alter their communication to these families and trigger better responses. So these are a few of the examples of how we work within our communities.
Thank you, Michelle. That was really illuminating. I'm always so impressed with Sneha's work. So thank you for sharing that. And, you know, you do amazing work in Dharavi and other areas. And for those who are not familiar with Mumbai, you know, Dharavi is one of the biggest slums, and during COVID-19, Sneha and other NGOs did fantastic work in controlling, in spreading the message about COVID and getting everyone to adopt good practices. You also mentioned about data and pinpointing unsafe areas, and one of those areas being public toilets. That has come up on our map several times, especially in North India. And our next nonprofit works specifically, or at least this team works specifically on the right to pee, and toilets feature a lot in their work, public toilets. So I'm going to hand over to Rohini Kadam to share her work. And I see Supriya Jan from Koro is also here. So thank you, first of all, for your amazing work in the communities. Over to you, Rohini.
Thank you. And first of all, very thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I'm talking about why data is very important in our work. I live in neighborhood where I'm working with, and I'm live also. Without data, people does not trust you. That is why data is very important, because data want to make a change. I will give a first example about Right to Be campaign. The campaign was launched the provide free, clean, and safe urinal for women in Mumbai. Mumbai is the capital, financial capital of country, and no one believe without data. In Mumbai, 2,839 urinal for men in free, but women only 0. Therefore, first time Right to Pee together with the Mumbai BMC Corporation and create the gender segregated data. The data, because data is not only for outstanding information, but data is also standing instantly what the need and aggregation of data with BMC. Increasing ownership of the BMC working with the responsible agencies. Gender segregation data was create a gender segregation data which create not only men and women, but also transgender people, children, and specially able person also. We believe that increasing data was responsible system, and they themselves make a change maker. Their own ownership increasing, because without him, we are not change our city. Second example is Amist ward. Amist ward is very vulnerable ward in Mumbai. In ward is 9 lakh population, and we are mapping 501 toilet mapping. in this mapping, we are collaboration with the urban project team. We are mapping we are mapping 51 toilet. We are many question also we are searching, like no electricity in toilet construction. Many stakeholder and only water problems, not sewer line, not a uniform policy, different problem in this ward. As a toilet seat using 95 people, where is a policy stipulate it as 35 people should use it. It was a serious problem in this ward, where it is a reason that problem solving many mechanisms should be taken up the responsible stakeholder, budget and policy. Prepared should be a noted Mumbai city plan. In last 10 years, we have facilitated segregated toilet data creation in Mumbai, provide the gender budget, state women policy and city plan also. In this role, we are every time we are only facilitate how to make our city safe, how to make our sanitation policy in thought our people also. This last 10 years we are working with people and policy maker person also. We are together, we are including everyone, because without any person not make a very good policy in Mumbai. This is our experience of last 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohini, for that wonderful presentation of your work, and it's really important. I remember interviewing Supriya Jan 2 years ago at the height of COVID, when it just started, and she was telling us in one of the wards in Mumbai, so the city is divided into many wards, that one public toilet was servicing 400 families. Yes. And you can imagine that during COVID, everyone was placing such a great emphasis on sanitation. Now, without this kind of data, you cannot lobby for more infrastructure like toilets, street lights, clean toilets. In our own work, we found that there's a correlation between some of this infrastructure and the spots of the violence. And it really helps to make that case and to accelerate. So I think Eleni spoke about accelerating this gender equality. And, so we've seen that when you present this kind of data to the authorities, they immediately start pulling out resources and solving the problem. So data and data visualization is really critical. Thank you for your work, Coro team. And now, you also mentioned about intersectionality, and it has come up in everybody's presentations in some form or the other, that you cannot really understand a problem if you don't understand the context in which it happens. And our next speaker is Harish Iyer, who is one of India's foremost LGBTQ activists. And we have recently started a couple of projects with him and his team on including LGBTQ reporting on our site, because again, there's a lot of violence against that community, but it's never reported or very poorly reported. So over to you, Harish. Please share the importance of data regarding your community and how it would help.
Thank you so much, Elsa. Sorry for my bad throat. One of the important points that I would like to address today is we are talking about visible communities. Now, what happens when the community is completely invisible? What happens when the community is hidden behind layers and layers and layers of shame that the society puts the community to? Okay, and what if our understanding of the word woman, our understanding of the word female is actually comes from a point of prejudice by itself? Okay, where we when we are saying women, are we referring only to women whose sex assigned at birth is female, and they are and their gender is female, gender is woman as well? Or are we looking at a broad spectrum of women? Because somewhere in that spectrum, even I would fall, because I'm a gender fluid person, right? So I'm born with a penis, but I'm a gender fluid person, and there are times when I have struggled in a lot of these things. Like when we're speaking about restrooms, I remember going to the Pride Parade and dressed in a woman's attire, and wanting to pee, and I didn't know that I couldn't go to the women's loo because they I mean, it was quite visible that I was a man who had dressed up like this, according to them. And I couldn't go to the men's loo because the moment the number of times that I was groped, that my butt was felt up during the Pride Parade of my own community, it's I mean, I can't even begin to explain. It's another thing that I was in a I was in a space and a position where I was in a position of power and authority. So so I didn't have I didn't even have the option of reporting it, because I had to safeguard other people. I was on stage and I was managing the whole thing. So one of the things that we need to keep in mind when we are reporting is the intersectional aspect of every issue that we address. And I often say this: to address an issue, you need to undress the issue, and you need to undress it to understand the layers of intersectionality that it could distinct. So we spoke about people in marginalized communities. Elsa was speaking about people in marginalized communities who happen to be, now imagine you add more layers to it. So a person, marginalized community, and you're talking about restrooms being unsafe. Do you know that restrooms are unsafe for gay men many a times? Restrooms are cruising spots for gay men, because in the event of men not having the agency or the law being against them. Now, of course, the law is favorable, and you have apps, dating apps all over, so you can call someone over to have sex. But there was this time when it was the restrooms were cruising spots. And when restrooms are cruising spots, it also means that if there's somebody who's exploring their sexuality, they stand a chance to get abused. Okay, do you know the number of times local trains have not been the most, local trains and women's compartment in Bombay, in most of India, you have the women's compartment and you have the general compartment, right? You don't have a men's compartment anywhere. You have the woman and you have the general compartment. The general compartment has a maximum of men. But many a times, do you know the number of times that lesbian women, okay, whose gender expression is male, they've gotten into women's compartments and they have been thrown out of the compartment, the number of times that they've been groped, they've been told, they've been felt up. So all this also needs to somehow make it to the data that we are collating. The intersectional aspect of data, the intelligence that intersectionality could bring to data would also bring granularity to our data and specificity to our data. And I think that's the most important thing in a world which is more aware. 10 years before, I wouldn't have demanded something like that, because I know that there was less awareness about these things. Now, even within the LGBT community, there needs to be more awareness for people to understand that there are different sexes, there are different genders, there are different sexualities. So I think at this moment, and when they interplay with other aspects, like they interplay with say economics, economically challenged groups who also have people belonging to economically challenged groups who also happen to be identifying as a woman and their sex assigned at birth is male, and they also happen to be Muslim, and they also happen to be a person with disability. Imagine the layers of challenges that a community that a person belonging to the intersections of various intersections would be facing. And I think while we speak about data and the intelligence that data brings, it becomes very important for us to bifurcate the data on the basis of various parameters of diversity, so that there is specific intelligence that the data brings in. As of now, are people doing it? Not many of us. Not many of us. We think what happens, you know, we focus on the magnitude of the problem, the number that shows. Why do organizations, corporates, individuals completely eliminate LGBTQ people from their data analytics? Because they think that, hey, it's a very small number, 5 or 6 people, and why should we bother about it? 5 or 6 people who are out and 5 or 6 people who are about, but not 5 or 6 people alone, because data again shows that in America, Gallup had done a study in America, and they found out that around 16% of the youth identifies as one of the LGBTQIA plus identities, as one of the LGBTQIA plus. So that looks like a big data. But when you look at people, so the data doesn't have to be large for it to count. That's something that we need to understand. And not everyone has the privilege to come out of the closet. So there is a lot of invisibilization of identities that the data might not show. But even if it's a small number, it's a valid number, and it's a number that we need to go on with, because granularity helps prevent a lot of crimes. Thank you.
Thank you, Harish. And you're really, you know, encouraging us to question the data and not just accept it blindly. And I do think that's really, really important. So thank you. And yeah, we will be having one masterclass on community engagement and visualization. So hopefully we will further touch on it. So I do want to read out Allison Riley's statement. She sent it to me. She welcomes you today to the data visualization for women's safety. She also says, and I'm going to read her statement. So I would also like to welcome those students in India and Ireland who have been accepted to take part in our data challenge on women's safety. This panel discussion marks the first session and will be followed by the participants meeting in their groups for the first time. It is very exciting to see students from Ireland and India working together on such an important topic. And I hope they will learn from each other and perhaps build some lifelong friendships. I would like to thank Education in Ireland and especially UCD for working with us on this project. Ireland actively seeks to prevent and counter violence against women and girls and to ensure that perpetrators are prosecuted. This is a priority of our domestic and foreign policy. As we all know, gender-based violence globally is underreported, and projects such as the Safe City app helps to bring incidents out into the open, even if individuals are reticent to officially reporting something. Ireland continues to work at the UN level to reduce and prevent gender-based violence. Ireland is a member of the Group of Friends for the Elimination of Violence Against Women at the UN and an active participant in initiatives to mark International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. Ireland has been a long-standing champion of the Women, Peace and Security agenda at the UN, and it is a key priority for our current membership of the Security Council. We are seeking to advance this agenda across all our work on the Security Council, including on-country, thematic, and peacekeeping files. We are placing an emphasis on ending the scourge of conflict-related sexual violence and ensuring that women are free to participate fully, equally, and meaningfully in peace-building processes. Ireland considers the gender-based violence is a major abuse of human rights and can have serious impact on women's health, well-being, and livelihoods. We will continue to play an active role in the Irish Consortium on Gender-Based Violence, a unique collaboration between Irish humanitarian development and human rights agencies, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and the Irish Defence Forces, working together to share learning and build our capacities to prevent and respond to gender-based violence in developing countries. Ireland's second national strategy on domestic, sexual, and gender-based violence, 2016 to 2021, is aimed at changing societal attitudes through awareness raising to help prevent domestic and sexual violence, improving services to victims, and holding perpetrators to account. It reflects the 4 pillars of the Istanbul Convention: prevention, protection, prosecution, and policy coordination. This is all round about way of saying ending gender-based violence globally is a priority for Ireland. Our consulate is new, and working with Red Dot Foundation has been a wonderful opportunity to be exposed to the amount of work happening in the area of gender-based violence in India and to be introduced to some key actors. Hopefully, it will also lead to sharing of ideas and further collaboration between Ireland and India in future. It is so important that we share our insights so that if something has worked in one area, like the Safe City app, and we think it is suitable for our own areas, we can adapt ideas to suit our needs. But this can only be done through conversation and collaboration. The importance of evidence-informed policy cannot be overstated. How can governments, authorities, and communities find solutions to problems if they don't know what is happening and why? Data analytics, especially when visualized in an easy to understand way, makes it possible to fine-tune policy and to share information with non-specialists and the wider public. I'm really excited to see what emerges from this project. So that was Allison's statement, and we are very excited to work with the Consulate General of Ireland in Mumbai, also UCD and Education in Ireland. Now, I would like to ask my team to pin all the speakers so that we can take a picture of all the speakers. Rohini, you might have to put on your camera for you to be pinned. Oh gosh, I think Rohini, are you there? Is Eleni there? Yes. Add spotlight. And we are missing Rohini. Rohini, can you put on your video? Okay, I don't think she's around. So let's just take this. And thank you so much, Professor Eleni, Dr. Despina, Michelle, Rohini, and Harish for your insights. They were really valuable. And now I'm going to ask all the students who are participating to raise their virtual hand so that everyone can see who they are. We thank you for your commitment and for your willingness to be part of this data challenge. We are very excited to see what comes out of it. And I hope all of you will join us on the 4th of March, because that's when we will announce the top 3 winning teams. And we will also share some insights that come out from here and, have further conversations on this very important topic. So with that, I wish you a lovely evening. Thank you for being part of this session. We will send the presentations and the chat links and all the important information, because several people have written to me saying they want it. So don't worry, we will send it. We'll send you the recording of the session as well. And have a wonderful day. Do check out the Safe City app. And if you're in Ireland, please start mapping so that we can start using that data to engage with the authorities. We have the commitment of the Irish government that they're going to end gender-based violence. So let's use these platforms. Thank you, everyone. And we'll take a 5-minute break, and then the students can come back for their session. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Elsa Marie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elsa Marie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Do you want me to go, Elsa Maria, or come back, or?
So may I request, if you're not part of the team challenge, then could you please leave the room so that we can continue with the students? So Mayuri, the team will let you know. I think you've already been identified as part of a team. So I'm going to hand it over to Webby now. So over to you, Webby.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Maybe we should just stop the recording and then start it again.
Yes.